So hello guys, welcome back to another video. This is lecture number 18 of our React Mastery course. In last lecture we learned that why don't we use parenthesis directly after calling our function, which is a callback function like this. But instead what we do is that we call the function or give a reference to the function without using the parenthesis. Now let me show you that what is the reason behind that. We do not put parenthesis after calling a callback function is that because if we put parenthesis after referring to a callback function, what it does is that it instantly triggers the callback functions and run that function even if we do not want it to run. So for example, like you can see that what's the difference between these two lines. The function is do greeting and it returns hi there. The first example is only referring to the function and second example is console.log do greeting and it is running the function. It means that it is not giving reference to the function but instead it is directly triggering the function to run. That you can see that logs the do greeting function, does not call it. Example number 1 and example number 2 immediately calls the function and logs the return value. For example, whenever we render the app component, the number first is only give a reference to the do greeting function and it will not run the function. But the example number 2 will instantly console.log hi there, which is the return element of do greeting function because we have put parenthesis after the do greeting function. And as you can see in our example which we done in the last lecture, this is a good practice. What do I mean by that is that in this practice we are not using parenthesis after referring to a function, or I can say callback function gives the button the whole value function, so the button can call the function in the future when the button is clicked. So what does this mean is that because we haven't put parenthesis here, what it will does is that it will only give reference to the function which is handle click, and handle click function will be run only when the button is being clicked, otherwise it will not run. But in case if we put parenthesis after handle click, what it will do is that it will instantly console.log button was clicked even if the button was not clicked, because as soon as the app component renders, it triggers the handle click function and it runs it. So that's why we do not put parenthesis after our callback function, but we only give a reference to it. Now there are some ways of using callback function. So for example, instead of using arrow function, we can simply use function like this also. This will also give us the same result. If we run this, as you can see that it also console.log. The main difference between function and arrow function is that it makes or the code shorter or more understandable. Now instead of writing this function separately, we can also write this inside our curly braces in JSX tag only. So we can write function in console.log the button was clicked, and if we run this code, you can see that it works totally fine. And we have two options: either we can give reference to the function and call it separately, or we can call it directly inside our curly braces inside JSX tag. Now there is also a shorter way of doing this, is that what we can do, we can instead refer it to the arrow function, like we can put arrows, and if we run this also works totally fine. And because our code inside the function is very less, so in that case we can also delete the first set of curly braces. And now if we run this code again, you can see that it works totally fine. So this was a practice that how we can use the callback functions in writing as much less code as possible. So as you can see, we have two options. Either we will give reference to the function and write it separately, or use it directly inside our JSX by either this way or by using function keyword. So you will see these both practices in professional projects, and it totally depends on the situation in which you are using. For suppose if you have many lines of code inside the callback function, then you would most probably use the reference method, in which we will give reference to the callback function and we will make the callback function separately. But in case you have very short, very, I will say 1 or 2 lines of code inside the callback function and it is not very complex, in that case we can give reference, we will not give reference, and we will write that code directly inside our JSX code, either with the help of function keyword or with the help of arrow functions, as you can see in this case. So this was the main difference between arrow functions and using the functions inside our JSX code, or giving a reference to the functions, like in this case handle click. And you need to know both of these ways, because we will encounter both of these ways in the upcoming projects, and it is important to have a knowledge of how both of these works. So this was all for today, and in the next lecture we will understand about what state systems are and how do they work. And by this lecture we have completed about our information required to understand that how event systems work, and now we have proper knowledge required to move ahead in the project. So this was all for today. Thanks for watching.